We often think of the Pale Road as a lonely highway in the American Midwest, a stretch of asphalt cutting through cornfields or deserts, where lights appear in the sky and vanish without a trace. We think of Roswell, New Mexico, 1947, a crash in the desert, weather balloons, swamp gas, secrets buried in the sand. But the most compelling evidence for extraterrestrial contact didn't happen in the empty deserts of Nevada. It didn't happen in the 1940s. It happened in a bustling city of 120,000 people. It happened in broad daylight. And unlike Roswell, where the bodies were whisked away before anyone could see them, here, dozens of people saw the monsters. They smelled them. They touched them. Some of them even died because of it. Welcome back to the Pale Road. Today, we are heading south, deep into the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil, to a date that changed ufology forever, January 20th, 1996. This is the story of Varginha, the Brazilian Roswell. To understand the horror of Varginha, you have to forget the sterile, clean image of aliens we see in movies. These were not the tall, graceful grays communicating telepathically. What fell from the sky in Brazil was biological, messy, and terrified. It started days before the 20th. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, tracked an unknown object entering the Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't a meteor. It was under intelligent control, but it was failing. The Americans alerted the Brazilian Air Force. You have something coming down. Witnesses in the rural areas around Varginha reported seeing a floating submarine, a cigar-shaped craft the size of a school bus moving slowly, silently, trailing smoke. It wasn't flying, it was limping. It crashed not with a bang, but with a strange, muffled impact in the rolling hills outside the city. The military was fast. Too fast. Trucks without license plates. Soldiers with automatic rifles. They cordoned off the crash site immediately. But the cargo had survived. And it had escaped into the city. Part 1. The Capture in the Woods. It is the morning of January 20th. The fire department receives a call. A frantic voice. There is a wild animal in the park. It's weird. 4 firemen arrive at the scene, a wooded area known as Jardim Ander. They expect a jaguar, maybe a capybara. They are armed with nets and gloves. They walk into the brush, the morning mist still clinging to the ground. The air is heavy, humid, typical of a Brazilian summer. But as they get deeper into the woods, the smell hits them. It is a stench that assaults the senses, like ammonia mixed with sulfur, like rotting eggs and cleaning chemicals. It makes their eyes water. It burns their throats. Then, they see it. Crouched at the bottom of a steep embankment, near a fence, is a creature. It is about 5 feet tall. It is humanoid, but undeniably alien. Its skin is dark brown, almost the color of polished mahogany, and it looks wet, oily, as if it is sweating some kind of thick, viscous grease. The firemen freeze. This is no animal. The creature turns its head slowly. It has 3 distinct ridges running across its bald skull. No ears, just tiny holes, a small, slit-like mouth. But the eyes are huge. 2 massive, bulbous orbs of solid, glowing red. No pupils, no whites. Just a deep, blood-red pool of liquid terror. The men are paralyzed with fear. The creature seems weak, confused. It makes a low, buzzing sound, like a swarm of angry bees inside a jar. Bees! Bees! One of the firemen moves to throw the net. The creature shrinks back, raising its long, thin arms. Its hands have only 3 fingers. It looks terrified. It looks like a crash survivor in pain. They capture it. They wrap it in the net, struggling against the oily skin that makes it slippery. They throw it into a wooden box. The smell is unbearable. Within minutes, an army truck arrives. They don't ask questions. They take the box. They order the firemen to never speak of what they saw. It was just a deformed couple of dwarfs, they would later suggest. A lie so absurd, it was almost insulting. But the nightmare was just beginning. Because there wasn't just one creature. Part 2. The Wall. It is 3:30 p.m. The sky is turning dark gray. A summer storm is brewing. The air electric and heavy. 3 girls, Katia 22, Liliane 16, and Valkyria 14, are walking home from work. They decide to take a shortcut through a vacant lot to beat the rain. The lot is overgrown with tall grass and weeds. On one side, there is an old cinder block wall covered in graffiti and moss. They are laughing, talking about boys, about their day. Just normal teenagers. As they pass the wall, Valkyria screams. She points. Crouched against the wall, trying to hide in the shadows of the weeds, is the devil. That is the only word their minds can conjure. The devil. It is right there, less than 10 feet away. The creature is squatting, hugging its knees, shivering violently. Its dark, oily skin glistens in the overcast light. Veins, thick and purple, pulse visibly on its neck and shoulders. It looks emaciated, its ribs protruding through the wet skin, but it's the face that freezes the blood in their veins. The head is too big for the body, triangular, and those eyes, those massive, red eyes are locked onto the girls. Lillian looks into those eyes and feels a wave of psychic shock. She doesn't feel threatened. She feels an overwhelming sadness, a telepathic scream of pain and fear. The creature isn't attacking, it is begging, it is suffering. It's the devil. They scream, turning and running for their lives. They run until their lungs burn, convinced that the demon is chasing them. They burst into their mother's house, sobbing, hysterical. We saw the devil. We saw the devil. Their mother, skeptical, goes back to the vacant lot minutes later. The creature is gone, but the smell remains. That distinct, chemical stench of ammonia hangs in the air like a poisonous cloud. And on the ground, in the dirt where the thing had been crouching, are 3 distinct footprints, 2 toes, and a strange, greasy residue on the wall. Part 3. The invasion by nightfall. Varginha is under siege. This wasn't a drill. Convoys of Mercedes-Benz army trucks are rolling through the city center. Soldiers are setting up roadblocks. Helicopters are flying low, shaking the roof tiles of the houses. Residents are looking out their windows, terrified. Is it a war? Is it a revolution? Rumors spread like wildfire. A policeman has captured another one. A creature was shot. One was taken to the local hospital, Humanitas. At the hospital, the staff is told to clear a wing. Radioactive containment, they are told. But doctors see soldiers carrying body bags that are too small for a human adult, but too heavy for a child. The smell of sulfur fills the corridors of the hospital, overpowering the smell of antiseptic. Nurses whisper in the break rooms. They talk about a patient that was brought in. A patient that didn't have a belly button. A patient whose red eyes watched them as they tried to draw blood that wasn't red, but a dark, thick ichor. And then, the threats began. Men in dark suits, Americans and Brazilians visiting witnesses. You didn't see anything. It was a dog. It was a muddy homeless man. If you talk, your husband loses his job. Your children won't go to school. The cover-up was brutal. It was clumsy, but it was effective. But there is one story that the military couldn't silence. The story of Officer Marco Cherries, the man who touched the alien without gloves. The man who paid the ultimate price for the truth. Because the biology of these creatures wasn't just gross. It was lethal. While the girls were running for their lives and the firemen were being sworn to secrecy, another drama was unfolding in the shadows. This is the part of the Varginha story that turns it from a close encounter into a tragedy. Enter Officer Mark O. Eli Cherries. Cherries was young, strong, and a respected member of the military police intelligence unit. He wasn't the type to believe in fairy tales. On that fateful night of January 20th, he was part of the secret operation to capture the second creature, the one that had been injured and was hiding in the woods. We don't know the exact details of the capture because the files are still classified top secret by the Brazilian government. But we know this. During the struggle to put the terrified entity into the back of a vehicle, Cherries grabbed it. He touched the oily, brown skin. Reports say he wasn't wearing proper protective gear. Perhaps in the heat of the moment, a glove slipped, or he simply grabbed the creature's arm with his bare hand to stop it from fleeing. He made direct contact with that viscous, ammonia-smelling fluid covering the alien's body. At the time, it seemed like nothing. He went home, showered, and tried to scrub the smell off his skin. But the smell didn't leave. It lingered in his pores. A few days later, Cherries noticed a small lump growing in his armpit, the same arm he used to grab the creature. It looked like a boil, an ingrown hair, but it grew fast. He developed a fever that wouldn't break. He went to the infirmary. The doctors performed a minor surgery to remove the abscess. It should have been routine. Marco was a healthy 23-year-old man, but the wound didn't heal. The infection spread like wildfire through his blood. He was transferred to a larger hospital, shivering, delirious, his body shutting down. The doctors were baffled. They pumped him full of the strongest antibiotics available, but the bacteria in his system, it wasn't responding. It was as if his immune system had simply turned off. On February 15th, 1996, less than a month after the contact, Marco Cherries died. The official cause of death? Generalized infection. But the doctors who treated him whispered a different story in the corridors. They had never seen a bacteria act like that. It was aggressive, alien to the human biological ecosystem. Marco Cherries didn't die from a laser gun. He died from biology. He died because two worlds touched that were never meant to touch. His death is the smoking gun of the Varginha case. You can fake a photo. You can fake a video. You cannot fake a dead police officer. The Hospital of Horrors. While Cherries was fighting for his life, the Humanitas Hospital in Varginha had become a fortress. Witnesses inside the hospital described scenes straight out of a sci-fi horror movie. A wing of the hospital was completely sealed off by armed military personnel. Doctors and nurses were threatened with treason if they spoke. But people talk, especially when they are scared. They described the smell filling the ventilation ducts, that same sulfur and ammonia stench. They described doctors coming out of the isolation ward looking pale, some of them vomiting. One famous account comes from a witness who saw a doctor arguing with a military officer. The doctor was holding an X-ray. He was shouting, pointing at the film, "Look at this. This bone structure is impossible. This is not a child. This is not a human." The creatures, at least two of them, one dead and one dying, were being examined. The doctors noted the strange ridges on the skull, the oily skin that seemed to act as a natural spacesuit, protecting them from our atmosphere. They noted the black blood that clotted instantly upon contact with air. But Varginha was too small to keep a secret this big. The bodies couldn't stay there. The zoo mystery. Before we get to the Americans, there is one more victim in this tragedy. The animals. Days after the crash, the director of the Varginha Zoo arrived at work to find a massacre, but not a bloody one. Several animals, including deers and tapirs, were dead in their enclosures. There were no bite marks, no signs of struggle. The autopsy of the animals revealed something shocking. They had been poisoned. Their insides were dissolved by an unknown toxin. The theory? One of the creatures, disoriented and hiding in the woods near the zoo, had contaminated the water supply or simply passed too close to the animals. The biology of these entities was so toxic to Earth's life that merely being near them was fatal to our local fauna. The American connection, and then, the cleanup crew arrived. It is a known fact in ufology that whenever a crash happens in the Western Hemisphere, Uncle Sam gets a phone call. The Brazilian military, overwhelmed by the biological hazard and the political implications, allegedly contacted the United States. Radar logs from that week show an unauthorized flight plan. A United States Air Force C-17 Globemaster transport plane, a massive aircraft designed to carry tanks and helicopters, landed at Campinas Airport, not far from Varginha. Why would a military transport plane land in rural Brazil without an official schedule? Witnesses claim to have seen the transfer. The cargo, contained in sealed metal cylinders, was driven by convoy from Varginha to Campinas under heavy guard. The cylinders were loaded onto the American plane. And just like that, the physical evidence left Brazil. Where did it go? The rumors point to the usual suspect. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. The same place the Roswell bodies were allegedly taken in 1947. Conclusion. The warning. The Varginha incident remains the most significant UFO case outside of the United States. Not because of the crash, but because of the volume of witnesses. We have firemen, we have policemen, we have doctors, we have 3 teenage girls, We have a dead officer. The skeptics tried to explain it away. They said the girls saw a muddy, mentally ill homeless man crouching by the wall. They said the military trucks were just for maintenance. They said Marco Cherries died of a dirty surgical instrument. But ask yourself, does a homeless man have glowing red eyes? Does a homeless man smell of sulfur so strong it clears a room? Does the US Air Force land a transport plane to pick up a homeless man? Varginha serves as a dark reminder on the pale road. We spend so much time looking up at the stars, wondering if we are alone, hoping for contact. We imagine a handshake. We imagine wisdom, but we forget that space is a hostile place. We forget that life from another world might not just be strange to us, it might be toxic. Officer Marco Cherries found out the hard way. He touched the unknown, and the unknown killed him. So, the next time you see a light in the sky, or smell sulfur on a lonely road at night, don't go looking for the source. Some things are not meant to be found.